Belanger says, Rev, I'm liking you more and more. You're actually real and humble, and I don't feel like I'm being preached at or pressured by holy men. Well, let's get started then, shall we? Because my wife sent me this clip, and it was on Facebook, so I don't know how to share it with you. It was like a Facebook short, a Facebook video, and I'm not entirely certain how to share it with you. So where it came from, well, I'll tell you, it was a video about Dax Shepard, actor, comedian. He's married to Kristen Bell. Really funny guy. I like him. I like his story. Like, he has a really interesting personal story that I think that I've certainly learned from, and I think we all can learn from. Anyhow, this is Dax Shepard, and he is on a show called Two Bears, One Cave. And so if you Google that, Dax Shepard, Two Bears, One Cave, or you Google, well, I'll tell you the story. So he's being interviewed on this show, and it's a really good interview. And he's talking about going into a restaurant. It's one of his favorite restaurants. And I don't know why, but he tells us why he's just in love with salad bars, apparently. So they get to the restaurant. They all sit down. He gets up, goes to the salad bar. When he comes back, his buddy's sitting there, and he says, yeah, those people at that table over there, they're not real impressed with the way you're dressed. Apparently they were saying, I can't believe they came in here with a T-shirt. It's so disrespectful, and it's this and it's this. It must have been a high-dollar restaurant, I guess. And so his wife, Kristen Bell, who is notorious for her kindness and notorious for her gentleness, she looks at him and says, buy their meal. And he's like, oh my God, that is so awful. Yes, let's do that. We're going to buy their meal. That's what we're going to do. We're going to buy their meal. And so that's what he does, right? That's what he does. That's what he shoots. He goes to the waitress or the waiter, and he says, listen, these folks over here, he lies. He says, they're friends of mine. I'm going to get their bill, right? So I'm going to get their bill. And so apparently when it came time for the other couple, the other party at that table to get up and leave, they looked for their bill, and the waitress said, oh, I'm sorry, your friend over here paid for your meal. And Dax Shepard, he looks over and he says, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry that I offended you by wearing a T-shirt here. I'll try to dress better next time. And the guy's wife, apparently, according to the interview, the guy's wife, she recognized Kristen Bell, and she was absolutely mortified that they had been talking trash about someone, a celebrity, someone who is famous, someone who is rich, someone who is talented. Oh my gosh, we're not supposed to talk trash about people like you. We thought you were just, I'm just paraphrasing here what must have been going on in their brain. I never would have talked trash about Kristen Bell. I only talk trash about people I think are less than me. Now, the reason why Dax Shepard is telling this story is because, as he says it, and as the person interviewing says it, it's just the most gangster thing you can do, right? It is just the absolute most gangster thing you could possibly do. It's so lovely, and it's so amazing, and it's perfect. I have a sign. I had a sign. I actually gave it to a friend. I had a sign in my office that was given to me by a friend, and the sign said, love your enemies. It really pisses them off. There's something to that. There really is. There is something to that. Love your enemies even though they don't deserve it. Love people who persecute you, even though they don't deserve it. Love people who make fun of your T-shirt, even though they don't deserve it. Love people who look down on you, even though they don't deserve it, because it bothers them. Right? It absolutely bothers them. It's a seed. Now, in that story, Dax goes on to say that they left without walking past his table. They went out a different way. They would not go out the front entrance. They felt so bad. They felt so awkward. The guy's wife was absolutely mortified with what they had been saying about this person in a t-shirt turns out to be a famous person with a really famous wife, and they so couldn't look at them, didn't want to look at them, looked down, found a different exit. I don't know, maybe they all went to the bathroom and crawled out the window. Who knows? But what I'm getting at is that's the impact it can have. It doesn't always have that impact, right? Loving your neighbor, loving your enemy doesn't always have the impact of, oh my God, I feel so awful for what I've done. It doesn't. It may actually make them feel like you have, you might even feel like you're enabled. It might even make them feel like, well, that's right, they should pay for my meal because I was offended by your t-shirt. You have no idea how that person's going to respond. You have no idea how that person's going to react, but you're planting a seed. Despite the fact that you were mean, I love you. Despite the fact that you were mean, I provided for you. Despite the fact that you were mean, I took care of you. Again, they might not get it. They might not feel anything like what you want them to feel in that moment. And I think Dax Shepard got exactly what Kristen Bell really wanted them to feel, which is, oy vey, why did we feel like we feel awful, right? It really pisses them off. Love your enemies. It really pisses them off. Love your enemies. It really makes them feel down. Paul in Romans says it makes love your enemies. Loving your enemies is like burning coals on their forehead. In Proverbs 25, verse 21 and 22, it says, if your enemy is hungry, give them food to eat. If he is thirsty, give him water to drink. In doing this, you will be heaping burning coals on his head, and the Lord will reward you. Again, they might not feel those burning coals. They might not get what it is you've done. They might not be able to process what it is you've done. They might not respond the way it is you hope they would respond. They might respond in a way that is actually edifying to them or helps them grow. But you did the right thing. Right? I can't make somebody respond or react the way I want them to. I can, however, make sure I do the right thing. And in that moment, rather than get upset, rather than make a stink, rather than even ignoring them, what Dax and Kristen chose to do was plant a seed. In their case, the seed grew right away. For many of us, that seed will take years. That seed may have to come encounter some other kind of, we'll call it a growth agent, whether that's a sermon in a church or a message on a show. Maybe it's they're watching a TV show and they oh my God, that's the guy in the t-shirt, right? Maybe it's their child comes home crying because somebody made fun of their clothes, right? They were overdressed, they were underdressed, whatever the case might be, and they go, wait a second, oh, I did that too. We have no idea. We have no idea what the future holds, but loving your enemies, loving those who persecute you, taking care of those who would never take care of you, those people who are mean to you, those people who would look down on you. It's planting a seed. It's teaching. It's sharing. It's providing for the future growth of that person. And it's the right thing. It goes on to say, that passage, in doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head and the Lord will reward you. Doesn't say the guy's going to reward you. Doesn't say your enemy's going to reward you. Doesn't say that person who looks down on you is going to reward you. Doesn't say the person who makes fun of your t-shirt is going to reward you. It says the Lord will reward you. It's the right thing to do. No matter what, it's the right thing to do. And in fairness, I think, and please take this with a grain of salt, but in the world we are experiencing right now, and everything that we're seeing, and all the possibilities that appear to be in front of us, and some of it is so dark, so much of it, in fact, appears to be so dark. We need more people who are willing to plant the seed for the tree that they will never enjoy the shade of. We need more people who are willing to do the right thing because it's the right thing. We need more people who are willing to do the right thing even though they may never, ever experience the reward. We need more people who choose to do the right thing because it's the right thing. Despite the fact that they may not get the reaction, they may not get the response, they may not get the glory, they may not get the praise, they may not get the reward. We need more people who are just simply willing to stand up and say, I'd like to buy their meal. I'd like to provide for that person who was mean to me. I'd like to provide for that person who spoke down about me and to me. I'd like to provide for that person who sought me harm. We may never experience the reward, but we need to be doing it. Because if we're not planting these seeds out there, if we're not scattering this seed out there, you come to that parable of Jesus talking about the sower of the seeds. If you're not scattering the seed, if we're not scattering the seed of love, of generosity, the seed of kindness and gentleness, including in places and with people who may never reciprocate, how do we expect love to grow? We should have no expectation that love will grow and flourish. We must scatter the seed generously. Forget about the results. Just love. Just scatter. Just be the people that God created us to be. And the more of us that do that, the more will follow. And the more that follow, someday, maybe, hopefully, we overwhelm darkness and hatred. Amen.